You are watching The Horizon, the voice of the Amba woman, exclusively on ABC Amba TV.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amba woman. I always like to start the program by appreciating our ASA, Ambazonia State Army, who defend our territory religiously. We appreciate you. We are with you in spirit. And we pray that God continues to watch over you and keep you fit and strong. I want to salute our family and friends that reside in neighboring La République du Cameroon, mainly because they were running away from the war in our land, that we pray that you start making provisions that you will be going home sooner than later. I also want to shout out to our brothers and sisters who are refugees in neighboring Nigeria, Ghana, and other countries in Africa and all over the world, that we are hoping that sooner than later we will all return to our home and build a very powerful nation. Today, the topic really has to do with mobilization for the final lap. You know, with every relay, there is a last lap. But before I delve into that, I would like to welcome our permanent guest, Dr. Winnie Lobati, who was with us last week. We did not finish the program last week, so we will do another segment this week to conclude on the topic that has to do with mobilization. Ma Winnie, welcome to The Horizon, the voice of the Amba woman.
Thank you, my patience. Good evening, fellow viewers. Thank you for letting me in your homes again today. I'm a woman, and so I'm no stranger to this program. Thank you for having me. So I just wanted to say I'm happy to be here and glad to be one of the faces of the women or the Amazonians who periodically would come on to talk on and touch issues that pertain to us Southern Cameroonians and making sure that we get ready to go home.
Thank you so much, Ma Winnie. Last week, we really focused on the final ceremonies, the farewell tributes to our Vice President, Mr. Eric Ate, and the Director General of ABC, Ma Endele, who both were laid to rest on 2 weeks ago. My Emma was laid to rest on the 2nd of August, and the Vice President on the 9th of August. And they both pass on from natural causes. So before we really delve into mobilization, where we want to see how Southern Cameroonians and Ambazonians must really pull together to come in so that we finish this race strong and with a good result. Before we get into that, let's just address some health-related matters. So they both passed on due to natural causes. And I just wanted you to give some advice to our people because health is so important in everything that we do. So knowing that they passed on due to natural or health issues, we considered it that their time with us was too short, right? Too short because We are with them on Zoom, and sometimes we meet at meetings in Washington, D.C. But it was a short time as pertaining to our quest for restoration. What advice can you give those of us who are still here to keep the flame alive?
Thank you for mentioning the fact that both our VP Erica T and Director General Ma Emma Endili moved on to glory from natural causes, or let me put it another way, they had disease states that allowed them or brought them to the point where they passed on and left us too soon. I want to use this opportunity, contrary to what many people think or may have believed. Some of the diseases that are very prevalent and are common, some diseases are preventable, some are not preventable. They are tied with our genetics, our family history. So, what is really important is for us to be able to understand and know our family history. And for preventable diseases and things that we can do to prevent, we can do. But I'm going to talk about helping our people so we get healthier and live longer to the best of our ability. God decides the final day, unless somebody's life is cut short prematurely by another person, which is not God's day and timing, but wickedness can also do that. But here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to first of all target our fellow comrades in the diaspora, and then I will target our fellow Amazonians also back in the refugee camps, also at the home front. Let me start with diaspora. Many of us in the diaspora, we live in the, let's say, first world or second world by what is considered economic standard. And with that, we do have, it's assumed that we have better access to healthcare services. And what is really important is what we call preventive care. And preventive care has to do with us going for annual routine checkup. It is comparable back at home when children were young, or little infants and young children were taken to clinics or bathroom. Let me use that old word some of us grew when it was bathroom and as they used to call it. And we were taken there to get our immunization shots, and we were wait and check the growth of the child or the infant. So it is as well in the first world and second world scenarios where healthcare is more readily accessible. I want to encourage each one of us. In Europe, it's probably even much better and easier because most of the nations in Europe do have what is called social health care, unlike in America where your healthcare is tied predominantly with a work that you are employed at, or you have to purchase your own healthcare by yourself, or you have some format of government healthcare as an assistant, or as you get older. So preventive care, do an annual checkup. And in that annual checkup, they're probably going to screen some things, have a lab work done, which will check your blood. And so things can easily be picked quickly when you have those. They'll check how your blood sugar is, and they can pick if you have diabetes. They'll check your blood pressure, which you can do that without any invasive method. They'll find out if you have hypertension. If your blood pressure stays consistently high, they'll call you in and make you check, and they'll start checking you and maybe somebody will catch you with that hypertension before you end up with a stroke. Other things that they may catch will be other things that like diabetes, other things that seemingly high cholesterol. Those are simple, basic things that with just a blood screening, your chemistries, your CBC, they will pick some things quickly, and that will help you start taking care of chronic things that can be managed to prolong your life. Now, let me turn back to the home front. For the home front, most of us only went to the hospital. Mark you, I said hospital, because the hospital tend to be where our primary care of health took place when we were sick. Whether you had your malaria or you had a headache for a long time or you had cramps or something, and which meant by the time you were going to the hospital, you were so sick that you couldn't manage it with some Dalaprime or some paracetamol that you bought from the pharmacy or from a medicine shop in the market. So, what can we do, those of us who are at home? I pray when Ambazonia will come, we will have doctors who will have clinics. And in those clinics, we will emphasize preventive care or preventive health care, which means you are screened annually to know how your health status is, whether your kidneys are functioning well, your liver is functioning well, and we will be encouraging that, not only for children, but also for adults and the elderly. Then, now that we don't yet have that, what can we do? Most of us have, mind you, in Cameroon, including La République du Cameroon, Southern Cameroon and La République, the healthcare system that we had was the best that could have been, because we also had the mission hospitals that mimic the healthcare system, because they were run by missionaries, and most of those missionaries were either from Europe or America, and so they brought with them that standard of healthcare. And even before the British left, our general hospitals were run and designed by the British. And when they did that, they left some. If you imagine the Bamenda General Hospital, if you've ever been to places like South Baptist Hospital, if you look at the way that those hospitals are designed, because we didn't have elevators, and you have hills and slope, they kind of angled hallways so that you could roll beds and chairs to replace, because we could spread out, but we couldn't go up. And if we went up, we had no way of wheeling wheelchairs or beds when patients were moved from one place to the other. So that was one way that they did that. And thank God we had that, because there's a lot of no electricity. So if you were in an elevator stuck without electricity with a patient, then you're stuck. So that was designed in that manner to help move patients across in a way. That design is in BBH in Bansor as well as in the Bamenda General Hospital. And I think it's the same architect that designed both hospitals. I'm not talking about the new add-ons. I'm talking about the old Bamenda General Hospital that we know before they started adding their re-amination and the other words. But those were now also being used to mimic what was already put in place. So go to the hospital, see your doctors, and see a doctor. If you have a headache, it lingers for more than 24 hours. Or you have a fever, it's more than 24 hours. Please go seek medical attention. I know money can be difficult to have, but the mission hospitals and clinics, which we have, like clinics that are in different towns, they can help screen you, pick up some few things, and help you if they need to refer you for further care. For those of our people in the refugee camps, That can be tough
Yeah.
because you are in a land where you do not know. But I want to plead, do not get so sick to the level that you don't let somebody know and you don't seek medical care. By rights, as a refugee, UNHCR is supposed to cover your health services. But because most of you are not educated and know your rights as a registered refugee, mind you, some of you are not registered. I know that. And it's probably willfully done in collaboration. And I will say this, in collaboration, not with the UNHCR, but the individuals working at UNHCR and the Nigerian government and Cameroon government to keep the numbers of refugees to look low so that they will not say we are in a big major crisis. So the more they keep the people out and they don't register them, then it looks like it's just some little thing. But many, a majority of you, I will presume that over 80% of our refugees are not registered in Nigeria. And they have spread across and even moved to other African countries in the west of Africa and maybe even north and south. So please, if you are registered as a refugee, please, if you're sick, don't wait till it gets worse. And even if you don't have the register card, don't wait till it gets too bad, because you don't want things to get too complicated where something could have been rescued earlier. And then it gets so bad that it becomes a major crisis rather than something that could have been arrested and treated early. So that is the way I want to just address this, to help us to know that we need to take our health seriously while we are sick and when we don't feel sick. We should do that, especially for those of us in the diaspora.
Thank you so much, Ma Winnie. So when you're speaking, I was just thinking about a few things. I just had my annual physical this past Tuesday, August 19th. And my doctor, God bless her, always says the same thing. Every time I have my annual physical, she repeats the same thing. So it's just so ingrained in me. And I just want to share what she says. And it doesn't matter where you're living, whether you're in the diaspora or whether you're living in Ambazonia or even in La République du Cameroon, or you're a refugee somewhere. There are some basic things that everyone can do. I know that you just mentioned about getting checked, or preventive cares where you get a physical annual examination. Sure, not everybody has that luxury. So if you do, great. But that was the one thing. So have your physical, your annual checkup, and vaccination, immunization. That's number one. Because there are some immunizations, some vaccinations that are very important to prevent illnesses. Vaccination is a iffy topic that sometimes we are afraid of certain vaccines, but there are some that are must, that really keep people healthy. So that's number one. Get vaccinated. Number two is what goes in your stomach, nutrition. That is so important. They say food is medicine. We are blessed, those of us from Southern Cameroon. Things may be tough now, but we are blessed that we have healthy food. We have great vegetables that we can eat every day. We have sources of carbohydrates that are healthy. You have sources of protein, beans that are not expensive, that are healthy. So just go ahead and eat those things that are greenish, and limit the whites and proteins from beans, and if you have to eat meat, cut down on how much meat or beef you eat, and eggs. So those is very important. Nutrition. Number three, exercise. Exercise at least 30 minutes every day. Could be as simple as walking somewhere very quickly so that your heart rate goes up, or dancing, you know, Everybody has the means to do one or the other. If for some reason you have some health issues, that things, you can do some exercise on your seat. Lift up your hands, your legs, make you a little bit mobile. Number 4, sleep. 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 That's a luxury for some of us. 7 to 8 hours of sleep. When my doctor said 7 to 8 hours of sleep, I said, "Oh, I'm sleep deprived because I don't get 7 to 8 hours of sleep." So every year I go, she tells me that I promise, but it never happens. But 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night is the best way to go if you can do that. Number 5, stop smoking or doing drugs. Number 6, limit alcohol consumption. If you don't drink alcohol, perfect. If you do, limit alcohol consumption. Number 7, have a social connection, have a social life. It's good for us, most of us that are Christians. You go to church every Sunday. You have your community of friends that you meet with, Njange and the like. You have some friends that you trust that you can communicate with every now and then and tell them things that are intimate and ask for help. Keep that social connection alive. Don't stay as a hermit that you stay by yourself because it's not healthy. And finally, make time to cool down, to meditate, about 10 to 15 minutes a day. That's so important for us, especially high pace in America. Winnie, speak for yourself. I rarely have that 10, 15 minutes that I can sit down and just calm down and just shut off all the noises. It's very important. Make time for that. Winnie, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to all the list of 8 things that I just mentioned, or highlight some of them. Please feel free to do so now.
Thank you. I just thought about one that we miss, and it's so close to our and dear to our heart. Drink plenty of water. Drink water. Avoid a lot of sweet drinks. People may think that is having all those sweet drinks, the whatever top and whatever you people may drink, or the alcohol, or the other things, or the sweetened added sugar to so-called juices, that those are considered the rich people's drink. There's something you talked about nutrition. I was listening to a clip, an audio today, about some big changes about processed food that is happening in Nigeria. And they were talking about banning a lot of different and shutting down some plants in Nigeria for processing food and putting additives in those food that are causing cancer, increased rate of cancer, and probably, if they probably do a lot of health, they will see that it's going across the board. It's not just cancer, it's also I'll say even including fertility. It may be some of the things may be affecting our hormones and increasing diabetes and other things that are prevalent that were not so common. Thank you. You talked about eating. Our people generally do not eat a lot of red meat because they couldn't afford it. But as time gets on, and people get a little bit richer, I think the affordability becomes easier, and so they turn to gravitate towards a lot of red meat. And when we talk red meat, we're talking about beef, we're talking about pork. We encourage that you probably should eat more like chicken, fish especially, but then you have to be careful what type of fish you eat and how it is preserved and how it is processed. And so the other good thing for us is that we do not eat a lot of processed meats, meaning most of our meat is either fresh. We buy it, we are at the butcher shop, we buy it and come. And then even if we want to preserve, this is me thinking about the Cameroon I left several decades back. We dry it ourselves.
Right.
And then when we want to cook it, then we cook that dry meat. That was our major way of preservation. But there are other ways of preserving beef and other things that are in cans and moist, and that is not very healthy because they add a lot of what we call sodium. Limit the amount of salt and Maggi cube that you put in your food. Just cut back a little bit. I will tell you, there's a secret. If you can add crayfish, add your crayfish and cut back on your salt or Maggi, because crayfish itself gives a sweet, savory, and flavor. And then use things like ginger, garlic, other vegetable herbs. We have kormanju, we have other things that we can add, and we have a lot of other spices. The ones that we use in bongo chobi, the ones that we use in achu soup, the one that we use in so many of our food. Add them to enhance your flavor and your palate. I guarantee you, when we start eating more of the food that we harvested, even if we dry our corn when and ground our fufu at the cornmeal place and cook it, it's better than the highly processed cornmeal that is processed and brought in. So let's eliminate a lot of the processed food. And some of them we know. Bread, yeah, eat a little, but I would say, eat your roasted plantain even more than you eat your bread. If your
Absolutely.
breakfast now bread or every day, try to add some roasted plantain someday in your breakfast. It will be it's gonna do you more good in your body, and also it will give you some more minerals and electrolytes that you didn't even know that it's rich. Plantain is rich with, and we turn because of the nature of affordability. We have a lot of vegetable, but we ended up eating a lot of carbohydrates. We need to start cutting back on the amount of carbohydrates. Meaning, if you were eating 2 or 3 cocoyams or 3 plantain, cut back. Start cutting it back to maybe to 2 plantain, and then eventually to 1.5. And if you get to a point as you get older, to 1 plantain, and maybe at one point it will be half. It will help
Happens.
prevent you from having some other diseases like diabetes because of obesity and other things that are common. Our people used to walk a lot. We used to walk and go to the farm. We used to walk on the farm. But now we get a lot of Okada on the road, taxis. So that has reduced those physical exercises that you're saying we should do. So we have to now intentionally include exercise in our daily activity to make it count for our health.
Yes, I like that emphasis. It has to be intentional, because you can really have someone who goes the whole week entering the car from one point to the next point, and then the whole week goes by. That person has not done any exercise. So that is a ground for future chronic illnesses. And talking about food, Ma, when you're emphasizing cutting down on carbohydrates, there's a rule of thumb that your plate, half of it should be mostly vegetables, and then a little bit carbohydrates, and the rest, and then protein. So if you have, just think about your plate as a circle, half of it vegetable, 1/4 the carbohydrate, 1/4 protein, you're on the right path somehow. And eventually, if you want to even do most of it vegetables, even the better. And then just also cut down on your portions. We have, we used to think about how most people eat rice. You have a large plate of rice, the whole thing is rice, and then with soup on top of it, and then a little bit of meat or protein somewhere. That's a lot of carbohydrates. That's a source of illness, down the road. So these little things that we're saying here, they may sound very minute, but they are very important, because until you lose your health, being well, you don't understand the importance of health. I've said this on this program several times, that my health is my wealth. I rather spend money and buy food, expensive good food, than spend money on clothing or other things. And I really live by that. So we we are blessed in southern Cameroon that we have land that you can farm and harvest good food that you can prepare for yourself and your family. So we touched on this health issue to move on to mobilizing for our government. The passing of the vice president, I want to say something. At his funeral, during his burial, there were a lot of Southern Cameroonians, a lot of Amazonians that at one time were really, really warriors in the sense that they were fighting for this cause. They were known. But with time, they just, start on the side, and the president's passing saw some people coming out. I think that I want to use the expression that the passing of the vice president, his tombstone, as I want to put it, should serve as a stepping stone to more Southern Cameroonians, Amazonians to come back into the fold. Winnie, this travel, this journey to Boya is a relay. We've been on it for so many years. I want you to say why you think this, what the vice president has done, his legacy in the government, why others that are on the wayside, why they should come back into the fold and help finish this race.
VP Erigati of blessed memory now was so dedicated to the struggle. When he joined the struggle, to the best of the knowledge that I know, you probably even know more about him because you people are both in Santa LGE. I think one point he was the press secretary. I don't know if it was for ABC or for the president at some point. And then he became the director of cabinet, and he excelled in everything he do. He was somebody that wanted, when he had a task to do, he wanted to see it at its best. He was not just one that barely got by and wanted to just do something to get it done. No, he was dedicated and he did things. So he excelled, and he really wanted to make sure that the government continued in the right track of where we are now, and not, in spite of the many distractions that were along the way. Remember, he only became vice president after we had the second coup of the government. The first one was done in 2019. The second one was done in 2021. It's almost like every 2 to 3 years we were having some level of some destabilization, but he remained focused, very focused, worked with people across the board, encouraged people, provided help, assistance, was committed not only with his time but with his resources. I saw him. There was, when the draft started, when we started doing draft, he drafted for every county.
Yes.
And then by the time we shifted to having federal draft, that started happening because the county drafts were first, and then the federal draft was added later. And he drafted for every county, and some more. So he was committed, not just with words, but with action and with his purse. And I really just want to say a job well done, VP Erigati. You have done your part. But what is it there left? He's done his part. He's gone. It's a relay, like you rightly said. In a relay, there's a baton, and there are segments of the relay. You run your segment past the relay, And when you pass it, you have to pass it in the right way so that your partner who is going ahead takes it at, they are already in speed while they are taking it. They don't stand, wait for you to come and give them before. You are in motion as they are coming and they are passing it. There is the action and motion taking place. See, let me ask you today, if you were called up to serve as a vice president for President Sako, if you were called up, will you be able to take that running baton for this relay line and move it further and hand it to the next person? So it's a question each one of us have to think. The structures are already been placed for the government so that we have the LGAs, the counties, and then the federal level. And even within the LGAs and the county, there are other structures and other places where the grassroots is mobilized and the grassroots thrives, and the grassroots is the foundation. Believe it or not, the federal government is not the foundation.
Yeah.
It's the grassroots that is the foundation. Because if there are no people, then the federal government is just an empty shell without the people that work, that they serve. But if you have the grassroots, that is where the foundation, where you build, and then the federal government is just there to coordinate and help to make this grassroots move in the right direction. I say this because these structures are there for those of us who attended, who saw the vice president, who went to his funeral, and were wondering, how can we come back? How can we be involved? How can our voices be heard in a meaningful way? It's a meaningful way. Come back to your LGAs and counties and start working, and let's get to Boya faster.
Thank you so much, Winnie. You said that you answered that question when I was just about to ask some more details, and you just hit the nail on the head. Because while we were at the funeral, we would hear people make sentences like, well, there's really no structure. The vice president is gone. People are really willing to come back, but there's no structure. And I want to even use this metaphor. I know we've already talked about a relay. There's another metaphor that you could use and say it's a marathon. Because in the beginning, we had so many people that were so ambitious about this our cause. You had in every state here in the United States, you had hubs. You have people that had some leadership structure or interested in Southern Cameroon's Amazonia. So at that time, when Sissoco was in leadership, you were dealing mainly with what you called country. You had
Countries and regions.
Countries and regions, right? So you
Yes.
had leaders in that countries and regions. And then when President Sako came on board, he had it changed to countries and regions were still important, but the LGAs and the counties were a better vehicle to help us move forward. And it was unfortunate that Sissoko didn't embrace this and instead help to ruin it. But with that said, I don't see any other structure that could mobilize people other than the LGA and counties. You could be a Sako. I hate to use the word. Just I say as I'm calling President Sako, but let me just say out of argument for those who hate him. You could be a Sako hater, but he's not everywhere. You know, you have a structure that is called LGA. If you can come back to your LGA and do the work of a leader and bring people together, knowing that the ultimate goal is to get to Boya and get a nation that thrives, then you've done what is expected of you as a true Southern Cameroonian, true Amazonian. Or you can get to your county if you are one of those that do not have LGAs, but you have counties that are where the fight is in the county. You can do that. Thinking about the leaders that have disappointed us in the past, that I have to mention the names. The people like the Akwanga, the other one who's a thief or killer is in jail, Cho Ayaba. Bo Herbert, and some of those who were leaders of groups in Timambazonia, and then coming back to those who were cheer people at one point when the counties and LGAs were thriving. This is on the 2021, 2022, even before the coup of 2021. Let's say 2020, where you had viable LGAs, where the money was coming in. When you have a draft, people paid. If you remember that, Winnie, when there was a draft, people really contributed money. So when we're saying that time for mobilization, Winnie, I want you to be even more specific and just focus on this. What used to be in 2020 when you had powerful structures where monies came in. I don't think these people running the relay have just decided to quit the race. Is that what it is? Don't they believe in Ambazonia anymore? How do you talk to these individuals and bring them back to the fold?
Thank you, my patience. I think let's talk like a family where we have, in some areas in our family it's weak and some areas in the family it's stronger. Let's start with this. You talked about the countries and regions. Those were the first structures that we had in the days of Skakuf and in the days of governing council. And eventually we had the interim government and then eventually the full government. Because the momentum of mobilizing resources was in the diaspora, and as well as protesting was in the diaspora. The people back at home in 2017, they had started seeing the genocide. So the countries and regions quickly became stronger and were strengthened, and everybody came. If you've ever seen a marathon, at the beginning of that marathon, thousands and thousands of people are there. Yeah. Some people have prepared and trained, some have not. And they all came in. So that is what was. And we had the countries and regions. They served their purpose at that time. And eventually, if we had to be a government, whether it was interim or what, we had to start laying foundational structures of how the government, when we go back home, it will be easy to transition. Then came the APP, where we had the LGAs, the counties, and then the federal structure.
Right.
That it was a transition phase to get us in preparation for Boya and getting back home. The countries and regions, as much as they were helpful, became now they had different assigned roles now. Coming out of the Berlin conference in 2019, they were now put under the Department of Foreign Affairs. So now they become the go-to people, the contacts to reach to the governments of and political or international communities within their jurisdiction or country where they reside, to be able to push our plight and move forward under the structure of the Department of Foreign Affairs. So there was a good reason. The countries and regions were never really eliminated, but they were given a more defined role now in the Department of Foreign Affairs. And that is where truly they rightly belong, because you and I are in the US, you are in California, I'm in the Midwest. I know my local politicians here, my senator, you know yours. When it comes to things that we can do for Ambazonia, we can touch and go to those people because we are citizens and they represent us within the US government, so we can reach out to them in that capacity as our representatives. So that was the rule. But now, when LGAs were created, they were created for the purpose of administration, mobilization, and being able to mobilize resources, manage resources, and be able to be in direct contact with the people at the home front. Then it was called Ground One, so that you could know people from a region in that local government area. They know the people, they understand their terrain, and they can help better structure things within and fight and know the needs to fight the enemies out and know how to take care of the people. Granted, they probably tell you that we have one ASA in maybe they are in Santa or they are in Pinyin or somewhere. You probably will know maybe a family member of that person that is there, and it's easier, and you understand the terrain of where that local LGA. So it was for both for administration, strategic for mobilization, strategic for being able to push and fight the oppressor, as well as being able to your ASA. They know the civilians know them, and so they could also be protecting and shielding our civilians because they know them. The civilians know them. They know the civilians, and they know who are their people to protect.
Absolutely. So really the take-home message to those who are out there that want to come back to join the marathon again, because yeah, you're right. When we start the race, there's a marathon. Some people start running, they get tired, they lap behind, and then they join the race again and they're running. So there's a winner that will get to the final destination at a particular time while others are behind them. But we want to get to that final destination and carry everybody along with us. We don't want to get there and some people are coming late and those end up being spoilers. I think we are saying that we've tried two things: the country regional setup, and then the LGA county setup, and then we have a government right now. I don't see any other structure for those who are always complaining that there's no real structure. I don't see any other structure that it surpasses what we have now. So we are saying that people need to join the government and put their resources, their technical know-how, their educational knowledge, their financial resources, put it together to make Boya come sooner than later. My husband always reminds me that, we know Eritrea took about 30 years to 20 years to get realized. South Sudan about 30 years. Uh, Sri Lanka, even Namibia, those countries, they didn't get their independence overnight. It took some time, and we are also on the course. It's taking some time, but the reality that is that it will happen. It will happen. So we are just saying that after the vice president has gone, it's time for us to pull together and make it happen. Winnie, I have a couple more questions before we end the program. I'm going to go to neighboring La Republique du Cameroon and ask a question, and then I'll come back home to Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia to ask our two final questions. But we know that, I think it was this past Tuesday. Let me see. Yes, this past Tuesday, we saw a petition from Barrister Akere Mona petitioning that for a declaration of ineligibility of Mr. Paul Biya candidate for presidential election of October 12, 2025. And he cited some reasons why. First of all, I just want to ask you in general, if you came across that petition, if you want to share anything, your thoughts about it, before we move on to what is really important for our Southern Cameroonians.
Yes, I did see that. Didn't take time to read the entirety of the ineligibility factors that he placed, but some of the ones that he placed were age, mental incompetence, and physical incompetence due to age as the problem, and the fact that the Mr. Bia is not present as other candidates, so he shouldn't be disqualified to run because he cannot show that he is mentally, physically, and also apt to lead the people of La République du Cameroon. Let me put this here, right here, as a fact. It doesn't matter to me if Barrister Akere Tabeng Muna put that out there. He chooses to identify himself as a citizen of La République. It is his choice.
Right.
We Ambazonians, we know who and what citizenship we have. We are Ambazonians. Therefore, the elections of another nation is of no consequence to us unless that election is impacting our nation as it does now. Then we want to make sure that we make a bold statement. The bold statement is we are not participating in the elections of La République du Cameroon as citizens of Southern Cameroon, also known as Ambazonians. So we strongly denounce and renounce and deny that we will be participants in our government or in our jurisdiction of our statehood with our international boundaries to be part or support or aid or abate those who are aspiring, even if their roots are from Southern Cameroon, to be candidates of the election of La République du Cameroon. Even if they win and become president of La République du Cameroon, it does not change the fact that we are an independent, separate nation whose statehood was blocked, and we want to reclaim it and take over our nation with all the full rights. The so-called reunification was never ratified by the House of Assembly of Southern Cameroon. The so-called 1961 Constitution of La République du Cameroon was never ratified by the House of Assembly of Southern Cameroon. When Mr. Haijo, or then President Haijo, collapsed everything, he just did it by force because they were a bigger nation, and they had a larger population, and they were already in the big league, playing football in the big league, which is the United Nations, and we were not even given the chance to even be sitting on the bench, warming the bench to get into the big league, and never were given that opportunity to even play in that big league. But he came and bullied. If a nation refused to allow for our independence and we thought we were going to join them, what were we thinking? What were our fathers thinking? And today, we're not making their mistakes. We will not repeat their mistakes. We're not going to vote for their president to empower who their president is, even if it's the son of Amazonia, we are not going to continue to give them legitimacy to oppress us. Thank you.
Yes, well spoken, well spoken. I wonder in future, when we have our Southern Commons nation recognized internationally, whether the Akeremundas will want to come back and run for office. But I'm just I'm just speaking. Let me move on. So last week, Winnie, we had the draft for diplomacy and legal that took place last Saturday. How important, and I think we raised in the span of about 2-3 hours about $7,000 something, which was amazing. How important or crucial for a nation is such a draft, the draft for diplomacy and legal?
For the government, when we talk diplomacy is remember we just talked about countries and regions. Resources are needed in the foreign affairs to be able to excuse me, just excuse, let me get a little bit of water here. Sorry about that. Resources are always needed to be able to go further. Otherwise, our diplomacy will only be marching around embassies and staying there and handing letters with no follow-up. To follow up needs resources. And that resources mean meeting the right people, sometimes even getting lobbies, paying for lobbies.
Yes.
Sometimes mobilizing people, moving them from point A to point B, country A to country B, to go talk and meet with people that matter. So resources are very, very important. Legally, also for legal issues, whether it's registration of things or defending ourselves in some causes. A good example would be the Kansas City 3 that were picked up and locked up, and the case never came up or has never come up. Hopefully, they will bring them to trial. It is not, let me put it this way. The case of our 3 comrades who are languishing in jail in Kansas City, let me say Kansas City metro area or jurisdiction, because it's a federal jurisdiction, without trial for almost 3 years in December or January? It is unconstitutional in America. Therefore, why am I saying that? I say this because by the Constitution and the law of America, every citizen, if you are accused of something, you are accorded a day in court for the prosecutor to bring the case and tell the government with peers who are called jurors, who will sit there and listen to the prosecutor, label all these charges against you, and bring all this evidence, and then your defense will come to debunk or to show that what they are saying or the picture they are painting is inaccurate. And the jurors will sit there and listen and then make a final decision as the juror to say you are guilty or not guilty. But that has not been accorded them. And so that is really unfair.
Yes.
Another thing, one of the things that was claimed is that they were abating and helping, or they were helping with self-defense in Gov't. Ukrainians are in America doing that. Palestinians are in America doing that. The Jewish or the Israelis are in America doing that. They are raising funds. Some are even going to fight in person in Ukraine, in Palestine, in so many parts of the world where crises are, where people remember America is a melting pot. We have people from different parts of the world. What is unique about Cameroon and La République and Southern Cameroon that our people are the ones that are being picked? Is it because they are blacks? Southern Sudan, Ethiopians, Eritreans all did the same. They mobilized and made sure they could fight for their people until they got to independence where they were. So is it because, or could it be a combined factor that France is playing its dirty game behind the back and holding the nations that know what is right to do to not act, so that La Republic continues in this thing and will never even come to a negotiation table or pretend that they are coming, or continue and hoping that the thing will die down, or in some way we will give up, or in some way they will conquer us and we become a conquered territory and then now truly belong to them. Just
Right.
as Russia has Crimea and they think they will hold Crimea. I don't. So it takes money and resources and people of intelligence who are good diplomats to cut through the chase and to meet and go through and expose this hypocrisy and expose the oxymoron of the freedoms of free societies that are really being undermined. Remember, I said something. La République was allowed to play in the big league with the big boys in the United Nations, and we never had the opportunity. Is it because we don't have a big brother to support us? We need some money to help us. Maybe we need some money to also find some good lobbies. We've tried time and time again, and unfortunately, because we have not been consistent, we have people that come in and we have this common expression in Pidgin. Let me say small picking collapse the sharp for morning time, which means that they come with full energy and they are working fast. But the parents know you need to spread your energy and do it, because you will be there from morning to evening to do the task. So you want to do it quickly, but with no strategy. So we need more strategy, but we need the resources to be able to implement the strategies that we have. So it was a good thing that we had that with that. And by the way, if you are still thinking, don't forget you can still send your money into the National Treasury and label it diplomacy / legal or diplomacy. They will know what it's going for. So don't forget.
Absolutely. You know, our people are so resolute. They have consistently funded the government, and they continue to do so because they believe in the leadership. They believe that we're doing the right thing. As we plan to end the program, Winnie, there's more. There are a few things that are probably line up before the year ends, right? Is there any particular thing that stands out that you want to tell us? Because we are now in August, we have September, October, November, December, and then we come to the end of the year. Anything worth mentioning to us, so our people are aware and know what to do or not to do?
Oh yes, there are several. But before I say something, there is no government. Let me say this for those people who think that, but we don't give money and we'll not see anything. Diplomacy most often is quiet. And you don't finance your government once. Otherwise, you will pay taxes only on the first month that you work in whatever job you are working. And then for the rest of the year, on the rest of your income and salary, there will be no taxes. But every year we file taxes, and we file for taxes to report what we earned and see that if we had enough taxes paid. If we didn't, the government asks us to pay some more. If we overpaid, the government gives us back some money. The government needs money every year, every day, every time. Just so let's lay that to rest. Those who will be give money will begin my trip to Boya. How many years ago? We'll not see anything happen. What will be happen? They will chop that money. They will squander that money. A report was out there, but guess what? We still need money and will continue to need money. Even when we get to Boya, the government will continue to need money for rebuilding and for doing things. So I'm encouraging you, do not hesitate to support the government. Now, back to your question, are there some special things that are lined up? Yes, county drafts are still ongoing. I will start with those. Momo County draft is coming up this weekend, tomorrow, Saturday. So I encourage each one of you, join the Momoans to support them. They've been everywhere and always. They come strong to support every government initiative, and they come strong to support every county. So do well. To one good turn deserves another. Join them tomorrow and for their draft. Then, coming up next, we're going to be having the Amazonia Strategic Conference coming up, or Stakeholder Strategic Conference. I will not call it. Let me just say Amazonia Stakeholder Conference is coming up in the end of September, and then the October 1st, right at the heels of that, will be October 1st celebrations. Then, if I look down the calendar, if we look beyond that, we usually do have September 22nd. We remember September 22nd. And we don't want to forget that day, because it was the day where majority, when we knew that we were considered really like cockroaches, rats, and it did not matter to La République du Cameroun, and may I add this, and France, where they thought they could just kill the spirit of the struggle, where helicopters were pumping live bullets, and the people were marching with so-called peace plans. I was surprised to hear somebody say they were giving peace plan to who? Bia's government. Some people, some chiefs were doing something and saying peace plan. How are you going to give peace plan to somebody who is actually killing your own people?
Yeah.
Were you extending an olive branch for that person to stop the war, or were you giving peace plan? I think he cannot do peace. When he stood at Simalang Airport and declared war, that there was no peace in his heart. We didn't consider you and the funds, your people of our regions and the chiefs. He never considered you people his people. You were just another second-class citizen that they needed your land and your resources, and it didn't matter to them. So, September 22nd is another important date in our history that we'll be talking, and October 1st. Those 2 days, September 22nd and October 1st, we had a lot of massive killing with social media pushing it. Children out of university dragged into mud. We will never. Those images are still stamped in my brain from what happened then. Then we will be having, of course, we usually do have a Christmas program where we reach out and celebrate Christmas and try to put a smile on the faces of some of our refugees, because we cannot reach all of them, and some of those who may be locked up in La République jails so that they can have something, or even locked up in jails within our region so they can have some rice and some fish or some ching or some puff that they can eat, and children can have something that they can do, play and enjoy, to make them a little relief for a day, to forget who they are as refugees or prisoners, and remember how it used to be back home before all this senseless war started.
Thank you so much, Winnie. There was just recently, I think it happened on Tuesday. I've not really gotten the details, but I read that a pregnant woman was killed, and she was pregnant with twins. Let me see if I got that right. that it just happened this past Tuesday, August 19th. Let me see, just bear with me. I tried to get some more information, but I couldn't. Says brutal killing of Amazonian pregnant woman Sheila Nemo Gabi by Cameroon occupation forces. Now, this is an allegation, but it's at August 19, 2025, Bamenda, Mexam State, Northern Amazonia, occupational, okay. That an armed soldier opened fire on a taxi that failed to stop at a military checkpoint. Inside the vehicle was Sheila Nemo Gabi, a pregnant woman who was tragically killed along with her unborn twins. The taxi driver rushed her to the hospital, St. Mary's Soledad Catholic Hospital in Tarracon, but she was pronounced dead upon arrival. This deliberate act highlights the increasing pattern of extrajudicial killings carried out under Cameroon's military presence in Ambazonia. So let's just take a minute, Winnie, to just keep this mother and her babies in prayers. Just a minute of silence. Thank you. Winnie, you want to say something? I don't know whether you had heard of it or you just heard of it now. And then put in context with the fact that we had other babies like baby Carolette, baby Brandy, baby Martha that have been killed because of this ruthless war. What do you want to say about this?
I just heard of it now, and it is disheartening because I remember, I think there was, even in the early days of the war, when we had women having babies, and there was a mother who also had, I think it was twins, in refugees walking through the forest, and the mother died, and some other mothers had to take those babies along. This one, the mother and the baby were shot, and that was, I remember I just said something about premature death. Those are premature death, senseless. Somebody else taking the life of another. It just baffles me. How come some of our so-called Amazonians get recruited? They go train under La République, because La République citizens started decrying the fact that when their people were going, they were bringing them back in body bags, the BIR, and so they didn't want. So they decided to start recruiting our young men. Those who were foolish enough accepted the call, went and were trained. And what they did was they swapped. They said they would take people from southern region or zone and make them go up to the other sides, so that they have no, they're hoping that they have no emotional affiliation to these people and see them just as enemies and shoot them. I'm advising you, young boys and women who have been recruited, trained by La République, to shoot at your brothers and sisters without cause. For a just cause that we stand firm to fight. Please, please stop it. Please, please turn back. You can walk out of that so-called job. You can turn down your weapon. You can lay it down and you can walk across and move and become a refugee that needs protection in another nation. And you can now tell your story and require and ask for international protection. Please, please, I'm appealing to you. And even you, La République citizens that have been called upon to kill the people of Southern Cameroons. One day, many nights, you will not be able to sleep. You will have no peace because you will just think about the wailing, the voice, the blood that you took your own hands and you took the bullets and you killed and you knew that it was not a just war. Please remember, in the late 1950s and in the 60s, many La République citizens fled La République because they wanted true independence for their nation, and they took refuge in southern Cameroon. And we provided them shelter, and hence the word, most of them being Bamilekis and Bassas, hence the word the 11th province came about. Because we gave them land and they settled amongst us, because we were operating with fairness and we wanted freedom for all. Please, please. The fact that the killings are happening in southern Cameroon today does not mean that it will not happen in La République tomorrow. And if that does happen, where are your people going to run to? Think about that. La République du Cameroon is not a stable nation. That's why you have the colonial master, or the real person that runs that country is France, and the French ambassador, the military French ambassador who is in Yaoundé. He literally runs that government for Cameroon. And so whosoever, whether you call yourself an Ambazonia, if you go win that election, you will still be, you will not be running the nation. It will still be the French ambassador running the nation. So don't waste your time. Stop pretending. So if destabilization happens in your nation, where would your people run to? Think about it. So please, and to use Amazonian Southern Cameroonians that are scattered in La République taking shelter, please, I appeal to you, start thinking about going back home. I am appealing. Even before this election happens, go back home.
Thank you
We
so
don't
much,
know what
Maru.
will happen, but just go back home.
Go back home.
We'll start building our nation pretty soon. We need every hand on deck. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right, we've come to the end of this program today. The take-home message is for everybody who, let me just say, those who are living in La République du Cameroon, or those who are living in the home front, who have family members that are in the diaspora. You need to encourage your relatives to get on board, because the more that get aboard and fund the government, the sooner we'll have control of our territory. This is not a laughing matter. This is something that it will eventually happen. We have a lot of Southern Cameroonians that are in the government of La République du Cameroon, but they are just there because they cannot fight the government and stand as Ambazonians, because they'll be killed. That's why we are speaking on their behalf. I bet you that in every ministry, in every directorate, in every corporation, any public or government station, whatever you want to call it, you have Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, who rather be working for Southern Cameroons, Ambazonia, than working for La Republic. They're all there. They're all there, but they are stuck where they are for now. And we just want to encourage them to know that there will be a better place for them. Um, we have so much wealth and talent that there's no way Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia will not thrive as a nation. And the Republic, you will benefit from that. All you have to do is take care of your own your own leadership. And I'm just saying this as an aside. It really puzzles me. It really puzzles me how people can stay quiet and not come out to protest immediately when Bia's name was put on that as one of those running. I just don't understand why there was no so big an outroar that could have shaken the nation, when they put his name. And one person told me that, my patients, as long as those people have their bread and sardine, they are comfortable. They are content with just basics. I know I'm just throwing this, but I don't know if you want to comment on that, but then give your final closing comments on our topic today, Winnie.
You're right about what you just said. One of the basic rights of human rights is the right to live. And people use many different manners to survive. And because of that survival mode, granted, I would say, there are many of our people that are in survival mode and living in La République because that's the only way they lived and they grew up. Majority of the kids and young people today, I would say, 45 and under, or they don't even know about Abiedu.
Yeah.
I say 45 because Bia has been president for 40 something years. Yeah. So they were toddlers when Abiedu was in power, so they have no clue who Abiedu is. And the 1984 coup happened, Abiedu was taken out of the picture in Cameroon, so he had no name again in Cameroon. So if you can imagine that all they've grown and all they've seen is one person sitting on the throne, I call it a throne called the throne of La République de Cameroon, dynasty of the Bias. That's what they think they have. And so they do not realize that Southern Cameroons had elections, changed governments, changed power, and things were happening. Democracy, as we know it in America and in Britain, was happening in Southern Cameroon. They didn't know that because they did not know that. So what is really going on is because there is no other, they've been subjugated, they've been marginalized, they've been oppressed, and all they know is the crumbs that are thrown off from the table of La République de Cameroon to give them some little, like you said, bread and sardine. And a few of them are so corrupted that they are even worse and even more corrupt than the corruption of the people of La République de Cameroon, where they can embezzle so much money and want to continue to embezzle. Can you imagine? I can just remember one of the times I went back home to visit, how my passport was pulled, held, and was not given to me because they needed a bribe. Right. And I had a baby in my hand. And it was just baffling, and I couldn't understand. I stood and I looked and I talked, and then from nowhere, the spirit got into me. I just said, because they had a glass, that barrier, and so I just sent my hand, grabbed my passport, and I started walking away. I was doing that then, not even a naturalized citizen of America.
Right.
At that point, I was still holding the green passport of La République du Cameroon, and I was maltreated that way. So yes, the bread and sardine will end. Some of your children might get it because depending, like Some of them, they may give some perpetual dynasty to some of them, some little crumbles, so that people they can continue to remember some names. But the day they want to wrap you up and put you in jail, they will still wrap you up and put you in jail. When they are tired of you and you are a threat, they'll put you and say you embezzle. That's the fact.
Absolutely.
That's what they do.
That's what they do. That's what they do, and that's why we cannot be with them. It's just a given. It's really mixing water and oil. Southern Cameroonians and La République du Cameroon, they cannot coexist. And as the sooner people realize this, and I pity the young people that you just explained, those who are 45 and younger. That's why we keep on telling them the story. We keep on telling them the story, and hopefully it will sink in sooner than later. Thank you so much, Ma Winnie, for being on the horizon, the voice of the Amber Woman. At the eve of the passing of our leaders, Ma Emma, and the Vice President, it's time that calls for mobilization for everybody to come on deck and do what they have to do. Each of us has a part to play to get the freedom that we so much deserve, to reign and rule our own land, to be a free people. And I want to thank you for being on our program today. Until next time on the horizon, continue to stay healthy, get those advices that we gave you to live as best as a healthy life that you can live. Thank you so much, and so long.
Thank you. Bye.